Operation Wonder Weapon, Book 1, Chapter 12. American Magic. The passenger train clattered away down the tracks, leaving Salem quiet under its crooked steeples and salt-weathered roofs. Ashburn adjusted his coat against the sea wind and glanced at his companion. The fairy godmother smoothed her blue skirt, adjusted the lavender hat pinned smartly to her hair, and snapped her handbag shut with businesslike finality.
"I don't like witches,"
she said primly, as if discussing the weather.
"Always too fond of bones and bad company. Cruel people, most of them. Children in their kettles, dear."
Ashburn winced.
"And do you expect to find traces of that here?"
"I expect to find something,"
she replied.
"Even the worst of them left a relic worth reclaiming."
They walked toward the old district. Narrow streets, colonial timbers, salt-stained brick. Salem didn't advertise its witch history in postcards or neon signs, just quiet plaques nailed to century-old clapboard, and the uneasy hush of a town that had once accused its own neighbors. They stopped before the witch house, its dark gables crooked with age. A small hand-painted sign offered "Historic Tours, Inquire Within." No crowds, no pageantry. Only 2 school teachers and a local historian waited by the door. Inside, the rooms were dim and close with the smell of old timber. A few artifacts sat in glass cases. Court documents, a bonnet, a plain wooden chair, a scrap of an inventory list. The fairy godmother paused at each display, fingers brushing the glass, searching for resonance. Nothing answered. At last, she asked the guide,
"Were any of their personal belongings preserved? A diary, a necklace?"
The guide blinked.
"No, ma'am. These were not witches, just townsfolk swept up in hysteria. Most of their belongings went back to their families."
Her expression softened into something almost maternal.
"Yes, innocents murdered in a panic, and no magic at all."
They lingered a moment longer, then stepped back into the cold sea wind.
"Not witches.
She murmured, voice edged with steel.
Not power, just fear and the tragedy built from it."
Her handbag snapped shut.
"Come along, dear. Nothing here for us."
Later, Ashburn found her in the parlor of the boarding house, sitting straight-backed by the window with her knitting. The needles clicked briskly, but her expression was set somewhere far away. He cleared his throat.
2 telegrams, ma'am."
"Set them here, dear,"
she said, patting the little table at her side. She read the first slip in a glance, lips tightening. Investigations complete. John Henry's hammer, interred with the deceased. Paul Bunyan's axe, pure myth, no records beyond folksong. She folded the paper once, twice, and tucked it neatly into her handbag.
"Legends are well and good, but legends don't drive off curses. That cupboard is empty."
Ashburn offered the second slip. She opened it carefully, eyes scanning. Searches for gold plates and brass compass guided by God. Ongoing since mid-19th century. No verifiable trace. Joseph Smith's seer stones believed in custody of LDS leadership. Location undisclosed. Church denies access. The fairy godmother was still for a long moment. Then she sighed. Not disappointed this time, but firm.
"No, those are not mine to touch. Faith relics belong to their stewards, and heaven keeps the keys. Best we leave them be."
Her knitting resumed with a brisk click.
"We will keep looking. There must be magic in this land, and we will find it."
Ashburn hesitated.
"And if there isn't?"
She gave him a smile that was both sweet and unsettling in its certainty.
There is always magic, even if scarce.
Philadelphia bustled with winter tourists, their breath fogging in the cold as they queued for the old brick hall. Guides recited dates in crisp voices. Parents herded children in wool caps, and souvenir stands hawked Liberty Bell postcards by the handful. In the midst of it all, the fairy godmother stood primly in her blue skirt suit and hat, handbag clasped tight against her arm. Ashburn hovered close, trying to look like an ordinary escort, though his nerves betrayed him. They were shepherded into the Liberty Bell chamber. The great cracked relic loomed, dark and silent, with a placard about its symbolism of freedom. Children pressed noses to the railing, some pointing at the crack. The fairy godmother stepped forward, laying a gloved hand against the ancient bronze. For a moment her eyes half closed. A faint shimmer passed over her hand, unseen by the others. Then she drew back with a small, sad smile.
Once,
She murmured, low enough for Ashburn alone.
this rang with more than sound. Freedom as an ideology has resonance all its own, but the fracture is real, dear. Whatever spark there was is long fled.
She patted her handbag with finality.
A relic, but not a tool.
They moved on with the crowd into Independence Hall, toward the glass case where the Declaration of Independence rested under careful guard. Tourists clustered, peering through at the faded parchment. The fairy godmother eased to the front, peering down her nose at it as though it were a pupil in need of correction. She tapped the glass once, twice, muttering words too soft for anyone else. Ashburn caught the faint ripple in the air, as though the letters themselves stirred. Her face softened.
Yes, ink and paper only, but steeped in faith and sacrifice. Men bled for this, prayed for it, and heaven lent its ear.
Ashburn leaned close.
And? Is it usable?
She shook her head, gentle but firm.
Not to me. Such relics are anchored to the covenant they represent. They belong to the nation that birthed them. I can read the resonance, but I cannot touch it.
They stepped back as the next group pressed in. The fairy godmother gave Ashburn a faint, almost amused smile.
Well, dear, that's another cupboard checked. Onward.
The train rattled westward, its wheels clattering a rhythm against the rails. The prairie stretched endless on either side, a pale winter sky pressing down. In their compartment, Ashburn sat stiff in his seat, a stack of telegrams and folders balanced on his knees. The fairy godmother sat across from him, neat as a pin, hands folded over her handbag as though they were on their way to Sunday service rather than the desert frontier. The train car swayed gently, the wheels clattering steady as the prairie rolled by outside. Ashburn unfolded another telegram, his brow tightening as he skimmed the lines.
Contact in Florida.
He muttered.
Says they found voodoo relics, fetishes, masks, brick dust, carved idols. They're not sure what they're looking at. Should we pursue this?
The fairy godmother gave a patient sigh, her lavender hat bobbing slightly as she turned her head.
Of course they aren't sure, dear. Most relics are only wood and paint. The true ones stir when touched.
Ashburn looked over the telegram again.
So they could be chasing shadows.
They will and must guide it. I can teach them techniques.
She folded her hands primly.
A relic of power never rests comfortably. If they place it in a room, let them watch the animals, the babies, the ones who have no reason to lie. If dogs bark, if children cry, if birds won't perch near it, then perhaps they've found something worth my time.
Ashburn blinked.
That's rather imprecise.
She smiled, sweet and immovable.
So is fake, dear, yet it serves.
Ashburn's jaw worked as the silence dragged on. At last, he muttered,
I have carted you from Salem to Philadelphia to Gettysburg. I've watched you pot at glass cases, tap old bells, frown at parchments.
He shifted, exasperation finally spilling over.
Forgive me, ma'am, but I haven't seen so much as a spark. Not one. I'm starting to feel like a fool running errands for fairy tales.
The fairy godmother smiled, warm and amused, as though he'd just confessed to sneaking a cookie before dinner.
Oh, Ashburn, most cupboards are empty, but you open them anyway. That's how you find the flour when it's time to bake a loaf. And the one time you don't look, you'll go hungry.
His brows drew tight.
That's not an answer.
It's the only one that matters,
she said primly, tapping her handbag shut.
You think General Godfrey sent you with me for a lark? He's not a man who wastes favors.
Ashburn looked out the window, lips pressed thin, the fields blurred past.
All I've seen is a grandmother in a hat. No magic, no miracles, nothing to show me this isn't just another wild goose chase dressed up as patriotism.
The fairy godmother leaned forward slightly, her voice lowering, but still kind.
Do you believe in electricity, Ashburn?
He blinked at her.
Of course.
Have you ever seen its current?
His mouth opened, then shut.
You see its light, you feel its warmth, but you've never seen the current itself. You trust it because you live by it.
She tilted her head, eyes bright.
The wind, too. You've never seen the wind, only when it stirs.
She settled back, satisfied.
Magic is much the same. You don't need to see it to be caught up in it.
Ashburn shifted again, rubbing at his temple.
It's a neat speech, ma'am, but speeches don't win wars.
No,
she said softly.
But faith does, and faith, dear, is where magic begins.
The train wheels clattered on. Ashburn didn't reply, but he didn't look away from her either. He felt, for the first time, that he was being measured, not by a dotty old woman, but by someone who had endured centuries. The train hissed into the depot, brakes screeching against the rails. Dust and heat rolled in as the doors clattered open. Ashburn hauled down their valises, squinting at the sunlight. The fairy godmother descended primly behind him, handbag clasped in both hands, lavender hat set like a crown against the glare. Waiting on the platform stood a lean man in a weathered Stetson, sleeves rolled to the elbow, sun baked deep into his skin. He tipped his hat.
Colonel Ashburn? Ma'am? Name's Dick. Appreciate you coming all this way.
He shook Ashburn's hand, then the fairy godmother's. She gave him a warm smile and a firm grip.
Thank you for writing, dear. You said you had something worth showing us.
Yes, ma'am.
He gestured toward the street, where a dusty pickup idled.
Not much to look at, but we got a place that keeps the cowboy stories. Best way to see how the legend grew.
The museum was half brick hall, half barn, with sun-faded banners proclaiming cowboy heroes of the West. Inside, the air smelled of leather and dust. Saddles rested in glass cases, spurs glittered under lamps, Colt revolvers sat displayed beside coiled ropes. Dick led them past framed pulp magazine covers, painted cowboys roping tornadoes, taming cougars, or grinning under broad hats. One panel bore the title, The Saga of Pecos Bill, printed in bold letters over a desert sunset.
Started out in stories like these,
Dick said, tapping the glass.
By the time O'Reilly put 'em in print, Bill was already folklore. Folks here swear he was real. Say he rode a Mustang so mean they called it Widowmaker. Rope made from rattlesnakes, too. Could lasso the moon if you wanted.
Ashburn folded his arms.
With respect, sir, we've just come from Salem, Philadelphia, Gettysburg. We've seen plenty of legends made into postcards. If you're saying this cowboy was real, you'll forgive me if I...
The fairy godmother touched his sleeve lightly.
Patience, dear.
She stepped closer to the frame, her eyes narrowing just slightly, studying the print. For a moment, her hand hovered near the glass, as if she felt a vibration no one else could. Dick caught it.
Stories linger longer than folks expect, ma'am. Folks along the Picos still whisper about a Mustang no man can rope, appears at dusk, runs like thunder, vanishes in a blink. They say if you can catch him, Bill's rope will be yours.
The fairy godmother gave the faintest nod, lavender hat tilting.
Yes, a thread, and threads lead to spools if you follow them carefully enough.
Ashburn frowned.
A phantom horse and a rope made of rattlesnakes?
His tone was bone dry. She only smiled, handbag snapping shut.
The cupboard may be full at last, dear, and when it is, we shall see who eats humble pie.
Reinforcements. Naples was cracking. The city's once proud streets were a graveyard of rubble. Every alley stank of cordite and sweat. Civilians bled beside soldiers, and still the Germans pressed. Mortars shattered what was left of churches. Tanks ground over cobblestones slick with ash. In the square near the port, John stood unflinching, visor glowing red. Around him, the wounded groaned, medics screamed for stretchers, civilians clawed at debris to free trapped neighbors. His gaze swept across them without flicker or pity.
"Keep fighting,"
he said flatly to a captain kneeling over his dying brother.
"He bleeds. You still breathe. The city stands until you fall."
The words landed like iron, cruel, merciless. But no one dared disobey. Ray and Larry fought like cornered animals, snouts curled back, firing from barricades until their weapons glowed. Nick hurled himself again and again into enemy squads, trampling machine guns under hoof, hide bloodied from bayonets and bullet grazes. Civilians dragged children away from burning streets, only to return with grenades in their hands. The toll was monstrous. Of the 6,000 left, hundreds more fell every day. John never flinched. His armor was streaked with soot and blood, his fists roughened from tearing apart tanks. He was everywhere, directing fire, crushing squads, dragging barricades into place with inhuman strength. That afternoon, the sky split again with engines. P-47 swept low, strafing German armor, blasting a corridor of fire toward the sea. Soldiers and civilians alike looked up, hope flickering in ash-caked faces. Then came the horns. Ships, gray silhouettes on the horizon, growing larger by the minute. Convoys steaming hard for the port, decks bristling with guns, smoke pouring from their stacks. Destroyers shelled the German lines, sending fountains of earth into the air. Behind them, landing craft churned forward, spilling into the harbor under the cover of roaring aircraft. The square erupted in cheers. Civilians waved rags and caps, soldiers beat rifles against the barricades. Even Ray hooted. Larry's muzzle stretched in a grin. Nick reared, mane flying, and whinnied to the horizon. John did not smile. His visor turned seaward, red visor reflecting the rising fleet. For 10 days he had ruled Naples by will and iron. Now, with the cavalry arriving, he knew it was ending. The ramps slammed down, and fresh boots thundered onto the docks. Reinforcements surged into Naples, rifles ready, eyes wide with adrenaline. For days they had been told strange rumors over the radios, whispers of a curse, of men changed into beasts, but no one had believed them. Now they saw. As the fresh troops poured into the streets, Nick thundered past in full charge, hooves striking sparks from the cobblestones. Ray and Larry and other exhausted mutants staggered through the smoke, muzzled faces snarling as they reloaded. Ray barked a bitter laugh through oversized teeth.
Welcome to Naples.
Civilians fought beside them, ragged and bloodied, clutching rifles with shaking hands. The newcomers froze, horrified. Some screamed. A corporal raised his rifle, only to have his captain slap it down.
Don't shoot! They're ours!
But they're
ours, dang it!
The harbor stank of cordite and salt. Smoke drifted in torn banners across the piers, where shattered boats leaned against broken pilings. Fresh American troops were pouring ashore now, their boots splashing through the shallows, rifles held high. Weiss came with the last of his men, half a dozen where 24 had stood. His uniform was ripped, his helmet lost, his face gray with exhaustion and dust. Still, he carried his rifle, and his eyes weary. A captain met him at the barricades.
You held it.
He said simply. Weiss gave a dry laugh, more a rasp than anything.
Held is generous. Reclung, and the butters didn't take it, that's all.
Behind him, the survivors of his squad collapsed onto crates and sandbags, too tired to even speak. A medic passed among them, wordless, cutting away bandages stiff with blood. Reinforcement officers were already barking orders, taking charge of the harbor defenses. One lieutenant paused, giving Weiss a salute.
You and your boys bought us the docks. The brass won't forget it.
Weiss only nodded, jaw tight. He glanced once toward the city, where the sound of battle still carried from the Abbey Heights. For a heartbeat he looked torn, as though he should be with the others still fighting. Then he lowered his rifle, slinging it over his shoulder.
Get your men seen to,
the captain told him.
You've done enough.
Weiss gave a faint smile, weary, wry.
Enough? First time anyone's ever told me that.
Then he turned, guiding his battered squad toward the waiting medics and supply trucks. Word spread quickly. Generals had come ashore. Orders were already being issued. Naples would be reorganized, command structures restored. John Zimmerman was no longer the highest authority. That night, in the flickering light of the ruined municipal hall, a runner found him.
Captain Zimmerman?
The man stammered, eyes flicking nervously to the red visor.
General Stafford requests your presence immediately.
The room went still. Soldiers and civilians alike turned toward John. Even with reinforcements pouring in, the thought of someone daring to summon him felt dangerous. John rose slowly, gauntlets creaking, visor burning like coals. He did not answer the messenger. He only turned toward the hall where the new generals waited, and some wondered who would be commanding who. The debriefing sprawled for days. Reinforcements had barely secured Naples before the generals and colonels began pulling survivors into side rooms, demanding order from the chaos. The testimonies came in waves, and the contradictions mounted. Supporters spoke first. Captains, sergeants, even civilians told the same story. Without John, Naples would have fallen. His voice had cut through fear. His fists had broken tanks. His presence had given them something to cling to when the Germans pressed hardest.
We were finished,
Weiss said flatly.
The man saved us. Call him what you like. But without him, Naples was ash.
Then came the detractors. Others described him as merciless, contemptuous, more tyrant than officer. A colonel with bloodshot eyes slammed his fist on the table.
He seized command like a usurper. He ruled by fear. Men followed him because they were more afraid of him than the Germans.
One medic testified he'd watched John step over the wounded without pause.
Not a glance, not a word, like we were already dead to him.
The absurdity of the whole matter gnawed at command. The curse, the transformed soldiers, the civilians fighting in alleys with beasts at their side. It was too far out of reality, even when witnesses agreed. Some commanders muttered openly that they were listening to madness. Others whispered that perhaps madness was the only explanation. In the end, the generals withdrew to confer behind closed doors. When they summoned John, the entire hall held its breath. He entered with heavy steps, armor weathered, posture always menacing. The officers sat in rows, uniforms crisp, eyes fixed on him as though staring down a loaded cannon. Murmurs silenced at once. This was not a tribunal. The officers seated behind the narrow table made no pretense of judgment. The placard before them read, Preliminary Board of Inquiry, Emergency Assessment. The presiding colonel cleared his throat.
Captain Zimmerman, this hearing is convened solely to determine your present condition and the nature of the magical interference upon you. This is not a disciplinary action. No charges will be weighed today. Until you are medically cleared and in full possession of your faculties, the Army cannot proceed to formal review.
Another officer added, voice strained.
Our concern at this stage is safety, yours and the Army's. Your conduct will be evaluated only after stabilization.
The presiding colonel lifted a typed sheet.
Preliminary findings of the Board of Inquiry, Captain John J. Zimmerman. Effective immediately, you are relieved of command authority and placed under secured medical confinement pending stabilization and full evaluation. The thalamic armor is to be confiscated and held as hazardous material. This proceeding issues no judgment regarding guilt or misconduct. Your condition prevents further review at this time. This hearing is suspended until further medical evaluation.
The room tensed. All eyes turned to John as a MP set a fresh set of army fatigues on the table before him. Slowly, deliberately, his hands rose. Clasps swung free as he unfastened the helmet. He set it on the table with a metallic scrape. For the first time since his arrival in Naples, they saw what lay beneath. Gasps rippled across the chamber. The officers had expected a man in armor. They had not expected the armor to continue underneath. His face was not a man's, not entirely. Steel ran through the lines of his jaw, cheekbones sharp with iron. Red eyes glowed from sockets that still blinked like living flesh. He was not clunky, not crude, but tight, organic, the way sinew and muscle might have looked if woven from metal. His gauntlets came free, and the light caught seams in his arms where plates flexed like muscle. He was a machine given skin. Piece by piece, he removed the plating. Breastplate, greaves, gauntlets, each section unlocked and lifted clear. Beneath it, the fitted leather suit held his shape, false musculature molded to reassure the eye. An officer nodded toward the adjoining room. John picked up the fatigues and stepped through without a word. The door closed. Moments passed. Too many to be comfortable. When it opened again, John emerged in regulation fatigues carrying the folded suit. The uniform was correct, pressed, familiar. That made it worse. The cloth strained over a frame that no longer obeyed human proportions. Sleeves hung wrong at the shoulders. The chest sat too deep, the waist too narrow. The fabric pulled tight across angles where muscle should have rounded, settled flat where breath should have lifted it. The uniform did its duty. The illusion of armor had made him look almost human. Now he stood revealed. A soldier properly dressed, alive and obedient to regulation, and unmistakably inhuman. Officers shifted in their seats. Some looked away. Others stared in fascinated horror. One man whispered,
"Good glory."
The guards stepped forward on instinct. Their orders were clear. Contain, don't confront. John did not resist. He only stood, red eyes sweeping the room, contempt glinting faintly in their glow. The inquiry adjourned in silence. Outside, soldiers whispered of what they had seen. The warlord stripped, the Iron Man unveiled, the hero turned medical prisoner. Puppet or machine? Cobblestones clicked under their steps as Ryder and Maleficent moved through the half-ruined German town. The war had scarred it, though not obliterated it. Here and there, storefronts still stood, their signs faded, their windows empty of goods. A bakery smelled faintly of bread and sawdust. A library's facade loomed with darkened windows, its shelves stripped of books deemed unfit. Women in drab coats queued for rations, clutching paper tickets in white-knuckled hands. Ryder gestured with his gloved hand as they walked.
Before the war, these streets were alive. Cafes on every corner, libraries with open shelves. Bread that wasn't blackened and rationed. Normalcy.
His mouth tightened.
No, it is only endurance. Each day, a little less.
Maleficent's lips curved faintly, eyes drifting over the gray lines of waiting civilians.
Your little kingdom gnaws its own bones. How quaint. You starve and still dream of empires.
They walked on in silence for a moment, Ryder's jaw working. Then he asked, almost abruptly,
The soldier, the one who held Naples, do you still believe it was Zimmerman?
Her gaze snapped to him.
I know it was. I crossed him in battle. I called him a puppet, and he did not deny it. Magic enveloped him.
Ryder shook his head, dismissive.
Those who operate Zimias described something else, a construct. They saw him stripped of armor and confined. They saw metal under the suit, a manufactured thing, not a man. Perhaps the armor had sorcery woven into it, but the creature inside was not wooden or a man, only a machine.
Maleficent's staff clicked once against the stone as she stopped.
Machines are not dragged before courts. The living are. A soul hides beneath those plates, whether you admit it or not.
He met her glare, voice taut.
I deal in facts, what I can touch, weigh, measure. I left an inert wooden form on a chair. Now a machine fights the right. I need more evidence to connect the two.
She smirked, turning her gaze back to the ragged townsfolk.
Objects brought to life by magic can be malleable. I am not unconvinced.
They resumed walking, the gray town closing around them like a cage. They passed a toy shop, its window a sad display of painted wooden horses and cloth dolls, dust settling where children no longer came. Maleficent slowed. Amid the jumble sat a small bird, carved from wood and painted black, its feathers crudely etched. A child's toy, no more, but to her eye it was close enough. A raven in miniature. She stepped inside without a word. The bell above the door rang thinly. The shopkeeper's face lit at the sight of a customer, then paled when he saw her horns, her green eyes. His smile faltered, words dying in his throat. Ryder followed her in, his stare alone enough to pin the man behind his counter. The SS uniform made his heart stop. Maleficent lifted the little bird from the shelf. Her fingers brushed its wings, her face unreadable, though for an instant the sharpness in her gaze softened. She turned it over once, twice, as if waiting for it to stir. For a moment, her expression looked utterly vulnerable.
Mockery,
she murmured at last, voice low.
A child's thing.
She set it back down. The shopkeeper exhaled shakily, as though doom had passed him by. Without another glance, Maleficent swept out the door, her staff striking the stones like a metronome of disdain. Ryder lingered a moment, eyes flicking to the toy bird. He said nothing, but filed the image away. Prison visit. The corridor to John's cell was narrow, lined with guards who didn't meet Ellison's eyes. Inside, John sat on the cot. He rarely sat. Now he was rigid, hands braced on his knees, visor gone, red eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. He didn't look up when Ellison stood outside the bars. Ellison held a packet of letters against his chest. He hesitated, then pulled up the only chair and sat across from him.
"Margaret's written you,"
he began softly.
"Quite a backlog."
John didn't move to accept the letters. Ellison felt anger rise. In an act of defiance, he opened the first letter and unfolded the first page, voice unsteady.
"She laughs at your skin condition. She says she's confused, but she trusts you. She writes, 'I suppose it's one of your soldiers' tales, John. Just be careful you don't grow roots there in Italy.'"
Ellison nodded at the cryptic words, amused. John didn't stir. His eyes didn't flicker. Ellison swallowed, opened the next.
"She says the children miss you. A little bed and carries your picture around the house. The boys ask when you'll teach them to swim. Margaret says she told them soon."
The silence pressed heavier. His hands shook as he pulled the third. His voice cracked.
"This one's, Helen. Margaret writes of the accident. Says Helen died instantly. No suffering. Many attended the funeral."
Ellison stopped, covering his mouth. He blinked furiously, then looked up.
"John, say something, anything."
Nothing. The machine sat, unwavering, unblinking, hands still on his knees. Desperate, Ellison pressed on, growing angry.
"You think you know what you're about? The next mission? The next kill? The next engagement? But to what end, John? It was never about what we hated in front of us, but what we loved behind us. That's why we fight. You made an oath to your country, yes, but there was one you made before that. One higher and holier, to your wife, and by extension to God, your children. If you betray your role as a father and husband, your role as a soldier means nothing, John. Nothing."
Something flickered in John's gaze. He rose, slow and deliberate, stepping toward the bars. Ellison froze, breath caught. He rose to meet his stare.
"You're not just a machine. The machine means nothing to us, but John Zimmerman means everything."
John's hands rested gently on the bars with a clink.
"The war is all that matters,"
John said.
"You've established a fingerhold here in Italy, but it will fail. Without me, it will all fail."
"You aren't carrying the world, John. The fate of the world isn't on you. It never was, never will be. Is that what you believe? Do you feel so alone in all of this? That is how you reassure yourself of your importance to us? Your worth isn't your usefulness."
With a single flex, one bar bent in his grip, fingers leaving grooves. The guards flinched, rifles raising. But John didn't break his gaze from Ellison. The machine showed its hidden rage. His voice came low, steady, dangerous.
"They keep me here because I allow it. It won't be long. They'll come to unleash me against the enemy again."
The bent bar glistened in the dim light. John released it and stepped back, retreating into shadow. Ellison's throat tightened. He gathered the letters against his chest, nodding once.
"Then I'll be back tomorrow, and the day after. You are my friend."
John didn't answer. He sat again, hands on his knees, red eyes glowing like embers in the dark. Later, Ellison sat at his desk in the makeshift HQ, papers stacked in untidy towers around him. Orders, reports, casualty lists. He worked through them with mechanical steadiness, but his mind kept drifting back to the cell, to the sight of John, rigid and silent, metal face gleaming like mercury in the dark. At last, he pushed the stack aside, pulled a fresh sheet toward him, and dipped his pen.
Dear Mrs. Zimmerman, I am writing to you on behalf of your husband, John. He cannot write at present. Circumstances here are extraordinary, but I know he would want you to hear from him and to know he is alive and keeping up the good fight.
He paused, chewed the end of the pen, then continued.
John has carried a burden beyond what any soldier should be asked to bear. His skin condition, though difficult to believe, is very real. It has been a great trial, but I assure you it has not diminished him in spirit. Quite the opposite. He stood against impossible odds and saved this city when others faltered. He has my respect and the respect of every man who fought with him. He grieves for Helen like a man gutted, but we all know he will carry on. He is surrounded by friends. He does not bear it alone. I will not pretend he is unchanged. We all carry scars. But his men are loyal, and we rally to him still. Whatever weight he bears it for all of us. Please take comfort in knowing that he is not alone, nor forgotten.
He noted for her the dates of the letters received from her, signed his name with a flourish, folded the page, and slipped it into an envelope. For a moment, he just sat there, staring at the ink stain on his fingers. Then he sighed, stacked the letter with the outgoing dispatches, and turned back to the casualty lists. The war room was crowded, smoke from too many cigarettes clinging to the rafters as if the curse was never a thing. Fresh maps covered the tables, pins marking Casino and Anzio in grim clusters of red and blue. The new generals leaned over them, uniforms pressed, their voices clipped with irritation. Ellison stood before them, cap in hand, his voice subdued.
I visited Zimmerman. No change. He refuses letters, speaks little. His eyes...
Ellison faltered, then forced himself to continue.
I can't tell if the man's there at all.
The generals exchanged looks, muttering. One scoffed.
We're wasting resources keeping him caged. If he's salvageable, prove it. If not, strip the metal for steady and be done with it.
A soft sound interrupted. Hooves on stone. A bay trotted in, tail raised. The room stilled as General Godfrey clopped straight to the table, ears swiveling happily.
You let the horse in?
The old officers, Kessler, Ellison, a handful of veterans, instinctively moved aside.
It's General Godfrey,
one colonel said, almost defensively.
He may be a horse now, but he still knows where he belongs.
The horse rested his head on the arm of the presiding general. The man stiffened, looking down in alarm.
This is too dang weird. I'm not petting a general.
But the horse just rubbed his long snout on his shoulder, oblivious to the absurdity, basking in the moment like nothing had changed. The tension broke for a breath, a few chuckles, a shake of Kessler's head. Then the new general shoved the horse gently aside and stabbed his finger at the map.
Enough. Maples is secure, but Casino is bleeding us dry. Our first push failed. Terrain, mines, German fortifications, you name it. Anzio is worse. We landed clean, then dug in like cowards, and the Germans hit back. Both fronts are stalled, losses mounting.
Another general growled.
200,000 men on the Gustav Line, and we can't crack it. Every village is a fortress. Every hill bleeds us.
The presiding officer exhaled through his nose, glaring at the map.
Naples was nearly lost to curses and chaos, but it stands. That's the only good news I've had this week. Gentlemen, if we don't break Casino or hold Anzio, Rome may as well be on the moon.
The big horse leaned into Kessler, making him grunt against the weight. Godfrey watching them with soft brown eyes. His oblivious presence was both comfort and reminder. The war was stranger and crueler than any manual had prepared them for. Later, the telegraph office in Naples was cramped, wires humming, the clerk yawning over stacks of incoming slips. One was marked for Allied Command, Naples Sector. The runner brought it straight to Major Ellison. He unfolded the flimsy page, frown easing as he read. Supply contamination source confirmed. Factories purged. Distribution chains being cleansed. Lot numbers inbound for purging. Local contact pursuing alternate power source for your asset. Expect delay, but progress. Steady. Ellison let out a slow breath. Finally, news from the fairy godmother, and with the new command they no longer had to hide their mission to help John. He passed the telegram to the new general, who read aloud to the officers clustered around. Relief rippled through the room.
America is cleaning house, factories purged, outgoing supply lines safe, and she's still working for Zimmerman.
Even stripped of rank and locked in a cell, John hadn't been forgotten. The men of Naples allowed themselves a moment of genuine relief. A gift. The Shatton Hall dining hall still smelled faintly of mildew. Its stone walls blackened from years of neglect before being occupied. A long oak table stretched between her and Ryder, a fire sputtering in the hearth. The food was plain: black bread, boiled potatoes, a thin stew. But it was served on silver trays, relics of the castle's past. Ryder ate sparingly, back straight, listening as an aide stood stiffly at the table's side.
The towers in the brewer are still functional,
the man reported, flipping through his notes.
Berlin's hub is intact, but France is difficult. Resistance interference, Allied bombing. We lost Calais relay last week. Brittany is still transmitting, but barely. The Poles harass Warsaw's lines daily, and the Red Army is pressing west. Our eastern reach may not last another month.
Ryder's expression hardened.
And Greece?
Sabotaged again, Herr Oberfuhrer. Athens is unreachable.
Ryder dismissed him with a curt nod. The aide bowed and retreated, boots echoing across the hall. Silence filled the room, but for the clink of silverware. Maleficent sipped from a silver goblet, her green eyes amused.
Your little iron spires tremble. You wanted to spread my curse across continents and cannot reach the stations. I'm actually starting to feel underutilized.
Ryder did not look up.
We need what we can hold. France for Britain, Poland for Russia. Everything else is contingency. Given your importance, we don't want to waste your talents on trivial war matters.
She swirled her wine, voice casual, almost lazy.
And your other scheme? The Star Maiden? The Blue Fairy? How fares your trap?
She said it as if remarking on the weather. Ryder's fork paused mid-air. For a moment he was still, then he set it down with deliberate care.
The preliminary observations are complete. The recharged one gave us a signature of her resonance. It carried the imprint from the puppet. Next will be bait. When she reveals herself, I will be ready.
Maleficent's lips curved.
Do send me an invitation. I should like to see her squirm.
A pause.
How did you catch the fairy godmother? Same method?
Yes. Her one exploitable weakness was children. She interfered often enough for us to tune our instruments to her wand. Then came the trap. A scheduled relocation of children she predictably attempted to obstruct. When she arrived, we engaged the thermic disruptor. She could not weave spells, only discharge her power harmlessly into nature, too diluted for recovery.
How clever.
She eyed him.
What are you using for bait this time?
Before Ryder could reply, the doors opened again. 2 soldiers carried in a medium-sized crate full of holes and set it on the floor with care. One saluted sharply.
Delivery for the lady.
Maleficent arched a brow. She rose, genuinely curious, and looked at Ryder suspiciously. He gestured toward the crate. With a flick of her staff, the lid creaked open. A flutter of black wings burst upward. A raven, glossy feathered, eyes sharp, settled on the edge of the crate and croaked once. Maleficent's face lit with something unguarded. Delight. She stooped, holding out her arm. The bird regarded her with intelligent eyes, then hopped onto her wrist, and she stroked its feathers with startling gentleness. Her gaze flicked to Ryder.
Is this pandering or flattery?
He set down his fork, meeting her eyes with his usual calm.
Neither. I saw a need, nothing more.
The raven croaked again. Maleficent smiled, and the firelight danced orange across the hall. Navajo Tacos. The sun was falling behind the mesas, throwing long red shadows across the Texas desert. A roadside gathering had sprung up near a trading post, families clustered around fire pits, children running in the dust, women flattening dough and dropping it into crackling oil. The smell of fry bread drifted through the air, rich and unfamiliar. The fairy godmother sat primly on a rough bench, skirts dusted with travel. Her eyes narrowed at the plate set before her. A golden disk of bread lay buried under beans, shredded meat, lettuce, and cheese.
What is this called again?
Navajo taco,
Ashburn said, loosening his tie, though it had wilted hours ago. The lifelong bureaucrat looked positively wilted himself. Sweat ran down his collar.
Local dish. I'm not entirely sure it's sanitary. You'll be passing gas for days.
She cut through the bread, beans, and meat, and took a careful bite. Her brows rose, then softened in surprise.
Hearty. Unrefined, yes, but honest.
She took another bite, ignoring his scandalized look.
Much better than your government canteen food.
A rancher sitting nearby chuckled.
Better than army rations too, ma'am. Food that sticks to your ribs.
The fairy godmother dabbed her lips with a handkerchief, then leaned forward with polite interest.
Tell me, have you heard of a horse no fence can hold? A wild stallion, untamed, that runs faster than any storm?
The rancher's eyes twinkled.
Oh, we all heard of him. Some call it a ghost horse. Says he runs in the wild. White men call him just another Mustang. With the old stories,
he shrugged.
They say he's older than fences, older than bullets. Taming the Mustang is what made Pico spill the legend that he is.
Beside him, an elderly woman nodded.
He appears before thunder, runs like smoke. No man has broken him since.
The fairy godmother smiled faintly, fingers tapping the table as if testing invisible strings. There it was, the resonance she had been hunting. Not in objects this time, but in stories. The threads of magic woven into memory itself. Ashburn groaned softly, massaging his temple.
We're chasing folktales now? With respect, ma'am, the Pentagon expects reports, not bedtime stories.
She gave him a sidelong look, sharp and amused.
Reports won't catch the Mustang. We will.
He sighed, dragging a hand down his face.
I work in an office. I was supposed to retire in Maryland. Instead, I'm sitting in the dirt eating beans on fry bread while you ask cowhands about ghost horses.
She patted his hand sweetly.
Cheer up, Harold. Adventure looks good on you.
His jaw tightened.
It's Ashburn.
The rancher laughed, clapping him on the back so hard he nearly toppled forward.
She's right, son. Ghost horse or no, this is better than a desk.
The fairy godmother rose, brushing dust from her skirts. Her eyes had gone distant, calculating. She could feel the Mustang's trail now, faint but clear, a chord humming through the desert air. She smiled, just barely.
Come along, Ashburn. The stories point west, and the Mustang will not wait forever.
Ashburn groaned again, shuffling after her as the fire pits crackled and the smell of fry bread lingered in the night.
I need to make a call first.
The trading post had one working phone, bolted to the wall in a little back room that smelled of leather, kerosene, and dust. Ashburn cradled the receiver, sweat trickling down his neck, and did his best to sound like this was just another routine field report.
Yes, sir. She's gathering intelligence. Local story suggests something powerful has been sighted heading west. No, I don't have a timetable yet. Yes, she's adjusting well.
His eyes flicked through the doorway where the fairy godmother was serenely eating another Navajo taco as if she'd been born to it. He rubbed his brow.
And me? Adjusting? Sir, I'm a civil servant. I stamp papers. Now I am...
He lowered his voice.
Now I'm hunting magical horses with a centuries-old woman who keeps calling me Harold. If I'm adjusting, it's poorly.
The line crackled. His associate cleared his throat.
Well, speaking of magical problems, I thought you'd want to know. New Naples Command sent confirmation this morning.
The voice said.
Brigadier Godfrey is... a horse.
Ashburn blinked, pen hovering over his notepad.
I don't understand.
A pause, then the man sighed.
I wish I was making this up.
Ashburn rubbed his temple, groaning.
Washington's going to have a fit. You can't put that in a report. How do you even write that in a report?
From the main room, the fairy godmother's voice floated in, perfectly serene.
Harold, do hurry. The Mustang won't wait for you.
Ashburn groaned into the receiver.
She's calling me Harold again.
Molly. The hospital stank and was a din of suffering. Kessler bent over a chart, scribbling notes with hands that shook from too much green tea and too little sleep. He preferred coffee, but that was cursed. Bandaged soldiers groaned in the cots around him. Nurses moved like shadows. An orderly ducked in, nervous.
Doctor? There's a man here to see you. He brought plants?
Kessler pinched his nose.
Plants?
Still, he waved the man in. A local civilian shuffled forward, clutching a basket of small white flowers, their drooping bells spilled over the edge, roots wrapped in soil. He pressed the basket forward, gesturing rapidly in Italian.
Oh yes, those. I asked for those.
He beckoned another officer, a young Brit who had studied botany before the war. The man leaned in, eyes widening.
Snowdrop, Cavanthus nivalis, native.
Kessler's expression sharpened. He touched one of the black-rooted bulbs, its white flower like a drop of winter snow. He turned to his orderly, voice suddenly alive.
Do you know the story of the Odyssey? Circe cursed Odysseus's men, turned them into swine. Hermes gave him an herb to resist it. Black root, white blossom.
He tapped the snowdrop.
This may be its closest living kin. If there's protection, it lies here.
The orderly blinked.
You mean this could cure the curse?
Cure? Not so simple.
Kessler straightened, rubbing his temple.
This is one piece of 3, a preventative antidote, but then we'd have to gather the cursed. Every horse or half creature scattered across Italy, and then find someone who can chant over them to reverse it. Without all 3, we can't undo what's done.
The orderly frowned.
But it can still protect the rest of us?
Yes.
Kessler's voice was grim.
If we can compound it, concentrate it, maybe lace it into food or pills, it can keep the curse from rooting. Soldiers, civilians, anyone who's touched the rations.
As if summoned, another man stumbled in, filthy, wild-eyed, carrying something wrapped in a blanket. He pulled it back to reveal a trembling foal, legs knobby, eyes too human.
It was on my son!
The man choked in broken English.
He ate the chocolate. Please, doctor, please!
Kessler's face hardened. He looked at the snowdrops, then at the foal, then at the father's desperate eyes.
Heaven help us,
he murmured.
We're too late for him, but maybe not for the next.
He turned to the orderly, his tone clipped.
Get me ethanol, glassware, and every snowdrop we can scavenge. Whatever chemical is in these bulbs, we'll wring it out, tincture by tincture. Stronger solutions can be refined later. For now, even crude extracts may blunt the curse.
The orderly hesitated.
But sir, there's hardly enough to...
Then start in the churchyards,
Kessler snapped.
They've grown there for centuries. Every flower counts. If we can't undo what's been done, we can at least stop more from being taken.
He stared at the foal again, jaw tight.
Prevention is the one mercy we could offer.